This video shows you how to set up expense policy rules, category flags, and approval rules for your employees. To access your expense policy settings, head to Company Settings and select Expense Policy, then click Add Expense Policy. Add a policy name. Within your policy, you can create a minimum threshold for receipt requirement. Any expense line item above this threshold will require employees to attach a receipt before submitting an expense report. The IRS requires receipts for transactions over $75. So if you toggle this option off, we will lock it automatically at $75 for you. Next, set your mileage reimbursement rate. You can tie this to the IRS rate, which updates each year, or enter a custom value. Then, decide if you want employees to be required to add a description to each expense. Toggle on Corporate Card. If the employees assigned to this expense policy use a corporate card for any of their expenses, this gives them the option to mark an expense's payment method as non-reimbursable/corporate card. You can also set this to be the default payment method on each expense if the majority of expenses for this group of employees are on the corporate card. If your employees need to be able to allocate expenses to different departments than their primary department, toggle on Expense Allocation. Toggling on Allocation Primary Department will allow employees and admins to set their primary department as the default allocation. Allocation Department Access gives employees access to all departments in the allocation list when they go to allocate their expenses. Next, decide on category rules for your GL accounts. You can enable or disable a category for this group of employees by clicking the check mark next to the category name. If you have a policy rule for a specific category or GL account, such as a spend limit, you can set rules here. Click into Set Rules, then decide which amount and time-based rules you would like to set for that category of spend. Any employees who spend outside of this rule will receive a flag on their report that is visible to their approvers. The final item on your expense policy setup are approval rules. Here you can determine how expense reports flow once they are submitted. The standard approval flow is at the bottom. All reports will hit this flow last, regardless of any added rules you create. When employees submit a report, you can decide if it goes to their assigned manager for approval, and then the assigned finance approver, just to the manager, or just to finance. If you want to add additional approval rules, click the Add button, select the approver you want added for this step. This can be an individual or anyone assigned to the manager or finance role. Now choose the condition. You can either select amount or category. Amount rules will trigger when a report is above a certain dollar threshold. Category rules will trigger if the report has an expense assigned to that specific category. In order of approval, category rules are the first approval step, then amount rules, then the standard approval flow.